Warning, this video audio may contain graphic images, verbal descriptions of death, self-harm. It may trigger or offend some viewers or listeners. You have been warned. Please do not report the video. This is meant for entertainment purposes only. All images herein are confirmed to be fake and are for dramatic effect only. So enjoy, and thanks for not being a douche. Love, Seb. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the show. As always, I'm Sebastian Volkov, your god of horror. And today I'm bringing you a new true crime story straight from the Philippines in our Horror by Country series. This is the Vizconde Massacre. The Vizcondes were what many would, at the time, consider your ideal, hard-working family in the town of Parañaque Metro, Manila, Philippines. Lauro Vizconde, 52, worked abroad in the United States as a cook to provide for his wife, Estrella, 47, who was a devoted stay-at-home mother to their two daughters, Carmela, 18, and Jennifer, 7. The girls studied at very reputable schools, and the family lived in a seemingly safe home in a gated community. But were they really safe? On June 30th, 1991, Estrella, Carmela, and Jennifer were found brutally stabbed to death inside their home. And it was Lauro who was returning home from his work in the United States when he happened upon this grisly scene. The investigation was complicated from the very beginning, since there were seemingly no eyewitnesses to be found, and not to mention the police having contaminated the crime scene, destroying much needed evidence. Since DNA was still rarely used in court cases at the time, there were no samples collected. A brief break in the case came when 6 known criminals stepped up to confess to the murders. With the lack of evidence in this confession, the police believed this case was closed. But that breakthrough was smashed when there was no evidence at all to tie them to the crime, and while being interrogated, they got many facts of the case wrong. In the end, they admitted they were abused and tortured until they agreed and confessed to the crime. The murders remained unsolved for almost 4 years, until an eyewitness, former drug addict Jessica Alfaro, came forward on April 28, 1995. She implicated the children of wealthy families as the culprits: Hubert Webb, Antonio Lejano II, Hospicio Fernandez, Michael Gachalion, Michael Rodriguez, Peter Estrada, Joey Filart, and Artemio Ventura. According to Jessica, she had been doing drugs with the suspects on the night of the murder. Hubert Webb, son of a former senator, Freddie Webb, had hatched a plan to sexually assault Carmela. Jessica was asked to come along because Estrella didn't like for Carmela to hang out with boys after dark. After Jessica was let into the Vizconde residence, she went outside to smoke a cigarette, while Webb followed Carmela to the dining room. While smoking, she saw Lejano and Ventura grab a knife from the kitchen drawer, leading her to believe it was they who stabbed Estrella 13 times. After Estrella died, Webb began sexually assaulting Carmela. The noise from the house awakened 7-year-old Jennifer, who then walked into the dining room to see her sister being attacked and tried to defend her. She jumped on Webb's back and bit him. He then threw her against the wall and stabbed the 7-year-old 19 times. When Jessica was done smoking, she came back in to see Estrella and Jennifer's bodies on the bed, and Webb sexually assaulting Carmela as she laid on the dining room floor. The suspects then all took turns before taking her life, stabbing her 18 times. Jessica then said a policeman named Gerardo Byong was instructed by Webb to take care of the house. And this information was also confirmed by a Lolita Barrera, a former girlfriend of Biong who had accompanied him to retrieve Webb's jacket and the murder weapon. After Jessica had given her eyewitness account, Biong then offered her a free ticket to the United States in exchange for keeping her mouth shut. Turning this down, Miguel Rodriguez warned her, "Shut up or you'll get killed," which prompted her to submit herself to the National Bureau of Investigation for protection. At the trial, Hubert Webb claimed to have an alibi, that he was in the United States at the time of the murder. He had his father, relatives, and friends to support his alibi. Judge Amelito Tolentino only admitted 10 of 142 pieces of evidence. Among evidence not admitted was the note verbale from the U.S. Embassy in Manila, claiming he was in the United States between March 1991 and October of 1992. This coincided with his passport and immigration record, but was dismissed by Tolentino on her belief that these documents could be falsified. On January 6th of 2000, Judge Tolentino found Hubert Webb, Peter Estrada, Hospicio Fernandez, Michael Gachalion, Antonio Lejano II, and Miguel Rodriguez guilty of rape and homicide. They were sentenced to reclusion perpetua, a maximum sentence of 40 years, and to indemnify the Vizconde family 3 million Filipino pesos for the murder. Former Parañaque police officer Gerardo Biong was found guilty of accessory, and he was sentenced to 11 years and has since been released. But it wasn't over yet. There were many appeals, especially from the Webb family, until 2007, when the case was brought to the Supreme Court. The final decision was made, and all of the suspects were set free, based upon the lack or loss of any DNA evidence, unreliability of Jessica and others' testimony, and Webb's strong alibi. On December 14th, 2010, the Supreme Court ruled that the prosecution had failed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, and ordered the release of the men. So, what do you think? Was the judge part of some plot to railroad these men and cover up someone else's crime? Was it simply the absolute incompetence and corruption of the police that turned a tragedy into a practically unsolvable fiasco? Did the Webbs have some sort of secret government ties to get the charges overturned? I can't say for certain, but I do wonder, will the Vizcondes ever truly see justice? Let me know what you think, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.